we've mentioned a few times now that the Bills haven't played anybody and it's all just been against each other in camp. And what does it all really mean? But that changes tomorrow. Chicago Bears head into Buffalo to take on the Bills in the first preseason game of the season. The start of the championship DVD could be tomorrow. We got some news from Sean McDermott the other day that the starters are going to play at least a quarter or so, including Josh Allen. Bears are also playing their starters, so we'll get to get a real look at, what this team could look like against some decent competition. So what do you guys think about that? What do you think about the game as a whole? What do you think about the starters playing smart, not smart? What do you want to see?
Yeah, I'm a fan of it. I know Dave earlier said he's not too much of a fan of it right now, but like like I've said a lot today, you only get 3 preseason games now. So one, you get less preseason games. If it was last year, I would be less of a fan of it because again, you have a coordinator that you're more familiar with. However, this year there's a lot of change when it comes to personnel, when it comes to the play calling, when it comes to pretty much everything about this offense besides James Cook and Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, and the starting offensive line, of course. But weapons wise, it's pretty much all new besides 3 guys that were there. And even Dawson Knox missed a lot of games last year. But then you add that in with now Joe Brady really being able to implement his actual playbook this year, and maybe he keeps those some from Dorsey, but it's a brand new playbook at least when it comes to it's now fully Joe Brady's offense. So I'm a fan of it. So I think they should play when it comes to the offense. Defensively, I'm kind of mixed about defensive starters playing, but again, I don't think they'll play too much anyways. And as long as Josh Allen stays upright, and I don't care if he is about to get sacked and he just falls down, just don't take a big hit. Like that's all I care about. So yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. I think that it's good. The Bears they're going to be playing their starters, so keep some good competition here. There's only so many weeks till we don't live football here week 1, and week 1 we all know can smack some teams in the mouth if they're not ready.
Yeah, the biggest thing I'm looking at is just getting the snaps down between McGovern and Allen. I want to see how that looks. I think you're going to see a lot of handoffs from Josh Allen. I don't think you're going to see him dropping back to throw too much. You might get a handoff, pass, and then we'll see where it goes from there. If they get that first down after the handoff pass exchange, you could see if they want to work on some up tempo stuff. You could see them getting into that mode and doing a couple things on a script. But otherwise, I really think it's going to be getting the snap from McGovern, hand the ball off, and let's get out of there and just get your work in, throw a couple balls. But I don't think you're going to see too many dropbacks. I think it's going to be a lot of handing off. That's just my opinion.
I mean, I went back and forth. I mean, do I want to see Josh play in the preseason? Yes. Do I want to see him play an entire quarter? No. Because everybody wants to talk about, remember when the Bills and Josh Allen lit up the Green Bay Packers in the preseason, and then they went and laid an egg in the season opener against the Steelers. So, I mean, there is pros and cons. I will say this. I do want to see what the offense looks like. I do want to see some things. I know they're not going to show their hand because you don't want to give anybody film and stuff like that. I am intrigued as to what the defense is going to look like if Bobby Babbitt is calling plays and things like that. But I will bring a perspective to this that you guys might not have thought about. You know who I want to see play with the ones? Mitch Trubisky. Because if Josh Allen gets injured, who's he going to be playing with? The ones, not the 2s and 3s. He needs to earn rapport with all of those guys, right? So that's something that, and it's not going to happen probably, but nobody really talks about the fact that your starting quarterback, yes, he's going to get some play with the ones, but your backup should also get some reps in live game action with the starters, because if he has to come in for a spell, he's going to be playing with the starters. He needs to earn that chemistry. So I don't know, like Lance said, the center things that we've been hearing coming out of camp with the snaps and the low snaps and the fumbles and things like that, it is a little concerning. So maybe that's something to where they can get that in live game action. And yes, I kind of want to see what Coleman looks like. I kind of want to see where they're going to line up Samuel and, what Ray Davis looks like. That stuff I'm looking forward to. So I don't think that Josh needs to play more than a series tomorrow. Next week against the Steelers, where it's a controlled environment because they're going to be practicing with the Steelers. And I'm sure that those two head coaches who go way back to William and Mary are going to have, hey, let's keep this on the up and up. I think that's where you play Josh, maybe into the first quarter, deep into the second quarter if you have to, depending on how the game's going. But we'll see. We'll see what happens tomorrow. It should be fun to just have the Bills playing against somebody other than the Bills. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, and McDermott talked about having that rapport with Tomlin and being able to, keep that relationship and between the two teams and how they're going to handle all the situations. So I definitely agree with the take of when it gets into time with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, and they're also doing some joint practices with the Steelers next week, I believe. So get to see some even more content from the Bills against another team. But yeah, I guess I'm okay with Josh and the boys playing in the preseason. Don't want to see him for long, like we mentioned. But outside of a couple guys, no one in this offense has caught a ball from Josh Allen in a game. This offensive line is still gelling a little bit. So I do think it'll be good to get, just get a little bit of that connection against another team. Like you said, Lance, I don't think they're going to run. We're not going to run like too many of our core plays, but just, basic routes, how Josh throws the ball in the game, probably a little bit more adrenaline, a little more heat on it in a game versus practice. So yeah, get him in there for a series or two, score a couple of touchdowns, hit the showers and, grab a couple post-game beers. I think that's hopefully the plan for tomorrow. We touched a little bit on,
we know the risk far outweighs any reward that you're going to get at this point in the season too, right? So, I mean, you do have to understand that. And that's why I think like you're going to see more handoffs than maybe people hear, oh, Josh is going to play. Yeah, he's going to be working on the center exchange more so than anything. There may be some rapport building there. Like I said, you'll hand off third down. But I just really think that with the risk being, so much more than any reward that you can get here, you're really going to be looking for Josh just to get the snaps handled with McGovern and then, get out of there. I don't think, he's not going to be slinging it.
And if they do throw it, it's going to be quick out. If he holds on to it, if Josh has to even pump fake once, they're going to tell him, hey, get rid of it. Just get the ball out. And like I said, if he has to and he's about to, like, the pocket starts collapsing, if it's past 3 seconds, just fall to the ground. I don't really care at this point. Like, just don't get hurt. That's all I think most Bills fans care about.
Do you guys feed into, and I'm not trying to, take over the show here, but do you guys feed into he can get hurt whenever? He can get hurt in a football game whenever, if it's preseason or regular season. I don't like that analogy because I wouldn't feel comfortable if Josh got hurt ever, but I would feel more comfortable if he got hurt in the regular season than look what happened to Aaron Rodgers last year, or 4 snaps into preseason and he's hurt. He's out for the year. Like, I don't know. It's just it's a mentality of like it could have been avoided, I guess, because a lot of things are still going to be sloppy tomorrow. And that's what concerns me. If he played in next week's game against the Steelers in a much more controlled environment, like we talked about, I would feel more comfortable because it's a whole nother week of practice. It's one preseason game. Things might not be as sloppy. Offensive line schemes might be, buttoned up a lot more. Things like that, where I feel like there's more of a risk of injury in the first preseason game, in mistakes in the first preseason game. And I guess you want to iron out those wrinkles now. Like Josh has said, let's make mistakes now, not in the regular season. But I don't know. I'd feel comfortable if it was more towards the regular season than tomorrow.
I agree with all that. And I think that's exactly why it's going to be more of the handoff type stuff. And then like Ben said, it's like, okay, let's call this. Like, we're going to get this quick swing pass to Samuel, or we're going to get a slant to Shakir. We're going to get a crosser to Kincaid and get the ball out quick. I think that's definitely going to be the emphasis is like, we don't need to do too much here, get a couple throws to these guys, but it's not going to be necessary to try to go and throw a bunch of passes to guys. Like if he has more than 5 attempts, I'll be shocked.
My only concern with, how you're saying, Dave, like, okay, well, what if the injury happens in the preseason and compared to the regular season is when you look at injuries that happen in the NFL, a lot of them do happen during this time period, training camp till start of regular season. You see a lot of them, right? And it's because when you have that OTA period and then you have a little break, OTAs aren't exactly super tough, and then you just start ramping it up. You get into pads, you get into it, get into everything. Rodgers, I don't believe Rodgers played in the preseason at all last year, if I'm not mistaken. So I think you need those snaps. You need those game snaps, whether it is preseason, because you need to slowly ramp in. And like Lance said, don't force anything. Get the ball out quick or hand it off a lot. But I do think you need these 3 games, and you do need to play at least 2 of them. And I think you could do the first 2 rather than the last one, just because you don't want to then just all of a sudden go into live gameplay where that's where the ramping up happens. When they start ramping up, that's where these injuries start happening, the hamstrings, the pulled muscles, whatever it is. So I do think you, as much as I get the whole, it doesn't matter whether he gets injured in the preseason, regular season, I'd rather have him get hurt in the regular season. There's more of a chance, I think, that he does get hurt in the regular season if he doesn't play really at all in the preseason. So that's the only reason why I'm okay with him playing in the preseason, and maybe getting a couple drives, maybe 2 drives at the most this game, just because I think he needs it for his body. I mean, this is such a physical game, and he's such a physical player that I think he just physically will need those snaps.
Yeah, I don't necessarily buy into the whole I mean, obviously it's true. You could get hurt whenever, but why add any more opportunities for our star quarterback to get hurt than you absolutely have to? So play him a little bit, get him in a rhythm, do whatever, see whatever they need to see, and then quickly get him out of there. I don't think Josh Allen needs a ton of preseason reps, like a drive or 2 here, maybe a quarter next week, and that's probably enough.